Hello, yes, it is my birthday. My name is Gina Lee, and I am very competitive, and I'm also Korean, and I mention that because it relates to my story. So, this theme is fun and games, and you know the saying, remind me, it's all fun and games until? Well, in Korea, we say it's all fun and games until someone loses an appendage. Yes. We have some of the most violent, competitive childhood games. We don't do, you think Red Rover is violent. Oh, let me tell you. We have one game called DBDBD. Sounds fun, cute, right? It's a game where you face off with one person, you say DBDBD, and you move your hand to one side, either to the left or to the right. And the other person has to switch their face to the left or right as well. If you go in the same direction as your hand, you flick them in the forehead. And you keep going until you get a concussion, or both of you do. Another game called 007, where you play with a group and you basically pretend to shoot each other 007, and the person who has 7 has to put their hands up, like as if they've been shot. If they don't, you basically pelt them on the back until they get scoliosis. Yeah, so very violent. Who's seen the Netflix show Squid Games? Right? Most people think the games are not real. The games are real, but what's also real is those are not exaggerated. That is the consequences you actually pay in the real games. So, one thing I mentioned is that we love to play games. I'm very competitive. I love games. And I also taught in Korea, hence why I'm Korean. I taught in Korea, taught English in South Korea for about a year out of school. And I had a very interesting contract. And probably the only one at the school with that contract. So although I can speak Korean, I am Korean, but since I was teaching English, I have to pretend I didn't know any Korean at all, only English. And the reason behind that is because they thought the kids would only speak Korean to me if they knew. So the whole time, the whole year I was there, I had to basically pretend I didn't know any Korean, which led to some interesting stories as well. For example, I would, ask them, did you do your homework? 숙제했니? And when I caught myself, so did you guys finish your homework this weekend? Or be like, 누구가 했어? Like, who did this? Nobody wants to confess this, huh? I see. And so we would have a game of sorts from the beginning. For every time they spoke Korean, so we would start on the board, they would start with 25 points, I start with 0. Every time my students spoke Korean in my classroom, they lose a point. Every time I learn a new Korean word to help me pretend like, oh, of course I'm learning Korean, I would get a point for every Korean word I learned. And at the end of the year, if they won, they would get a prize. If I won, then, I just won, I guess. So I am in Korea, pretending not to speak Korean. It's almost like if you were teaching Spanish or Chinese here in the US and they told you you can't speak English or pretend you don't know English. How weird is that, right? And I'm in my first class, which is a group of 6th graders. Very adorable, very cute. This one little girl named Chisu, who has like these little ponytails. She's wearing a little pink skirt. She skips up to the front of the class and goes, Teacher Lee. I go, yes, Jisoo. I'm thinking, oh, how sweet. She goes, Teacher Lee, do you know Korean? And again, the whole school has been told that I do not speak Korean, only English. They already know this, but they like to test me. And I know this is a test, so I was like, no, Jisoo, I don't speak Korean. I only speak English. She goes, oh, okay. Teacher Lee, I teach you Korean. I go, okay, teach me some Korean. I can put a point on here. She goes, Teacher Lee, do you know keseki? The class is giggling. I go, no, Jisoo, I don't know keseki. She goes, oh, okay. Well, keseki means pretty. Teacher, you keseki. At this point, the whole class is laughing, rolling out of their chairs. And as you can imagine, keseki doesn't mean pretty. No. No. What it means is you crazy mofo. Not to be outdone by her, I just smile. Oh, Jisoo, bless your heart, thank you. You can seki too. And my class laughs and she's embarrassed, but she can't say anything, even though I cursed her out because I didn't know Korean. And I put a point on the board. New word learned. Ding! Throughout the months, they like to keep testing me, making sure I don't know Korean. And one of the hardest tests was my 4th grade class was taking a pop quiz. And right in front of me, like now, these little brats decided to cheat. They started speaking Korean. Hey, number 5. What you got for number 5? Eh? What did you get for 5? Tell me 6. Is 6 count? And I'm looking at them. I'm right in front of them. They have the audacity to be speaking the answers right in front of me and think I don't know. So I go, pens down, paper out, and they're like, why, Teacher Lee? We good, we no do nothing. I go, first of all, we didn't do anything. I gotta correct them. And secondly, no talking during tests, and you know I went old school on their asses. I made them write no talking during tests 100 times. You bet I did. And so I would also teach them the American games, not just the violent games that are used to, but we would play Blind Man Bluff, Red Rover, all that. And then in December, my father came to visit. He hasn't been in Korea for over 30 years. That was the first time he came back since 30 years since he moved to America. And once he bought his ticket, 3 weeks in advance, I told my father, now, Appa, Dad, you remember what I told you? My contract says I cannot speak Korean and no one can find out. So when you're up here, you can only speak English to me. He goes, okay, I got it. Stop nagging me. I go, okay. 1 week he comes back. Okay, Dad, remember, no Korean in front of the kids at all. He goes, yeah, you sound like your mom. The day before, he's supposed to fly in. Okay, Dad, remember what I told you? He goes, yeah, no Korean, whatever, I got it. Right, getting annoyed at me. Then he comes in, flies in, and he comes to my work. He wants to see where I work at the school. And I show him around, bring him to the teachers. None of the teachers know I speak Korean either, except for the principal. And, he's being introduced. And we go into my classroom. My first class of the day is this 8th grade class. And what's the first thing he did when he sees those kids? Hi kids, I'm Gina's dad. In perfect Korean, I'm like shaking my head like, oh God, it's over. They know. Luckily, they didn't think about it. They just said, hello, Mr. Lee, nice to meet you. Lee, teacher Lee's dad. And I continue class and I think, okay, we're clear, we're good, right? They forgot about it. I teach my class after an hour. They approach my dad again and ask him in Korean, Mr. Lee, you speak Korean very well. You speak it perfectly, but how come Teacher Lee doesn't speak Korean? And I'm thinking, oh God, this is up. I'm gonna be fired, I'm in trouble. And I'm like trying to shake it to my dad, like, don't say anything, without getting their attention, don't say it. He goes, well, kids, it's all my fault. When Teacher Lee was just a baby, I dropped her on her head many times. And that is why she can't speak Korean. What's worse is their response. Oh, that makes so much sense. I'm thinking, you brats. So a year goes by without any other incident. I managed to do the whole year without letting them know. They all had suspicions, right? But they didn't know I speak Korean. So the very last day of class comes. I'm going back to Florida in a week. And it's my last day of school with the kids. So then, we all have a goodbye party. I bring pizza for all my classes. We celebrate. And at the end of each class, I did this about 5 times, and it got better and better every time. I get up. 에리야, 반가워. 이번에 잘 돼. 그리고 다음 선생님은 잘 착해. Which means, all right, you kids, I got you all. I got your number. I was understanding everything you said, by the way. So you better treat your teacher nice next time. Also, I win.